Group influence and opinion leadership. We're going to talk about reference groups and opinion leaders here. First of all, we're going to look at groups, and then we'll get into opinion leaders. Reference groups can be real or imaginary. In other words, we can believe we belong to a group that we may or may not, or we can actually physically belong to a group and have a membership card. So, reference groups there can be many of them in any given individual. Your reference group is one reference group is your classmates that you're with right now in advertising. But think about what reference groups you belong to or would like to belong to. They tend to influence consumers in three ways: either by providing information that they wouldn't otherwise get, by providing some utility that they wouldn't otherwise get, or they are value expressive. Like, I'm a member of the Liberals, I'm a member of the Conservatives. Is that a reference group? Absolutely, that's a reference group. Groups can be formal or informal. They can be large, they can be small. The small groups tend to have more impact, exert more powerful. Think about the reference group of your close friends, for instance, and their impact on your music consumption. There's this idea of brand communities or brand tribes, and there are things we can do from a marketing perspective. The Nike brand tribe, for instance, through their internet tools and the stuff that records a jog, you put it in your shoe, it goes to your iPod, the iPod puts it on the computer, it's on the internet. I see this all the time amongst people I follow on Twitter. I just went for a 6.2K run. Well, that makes them part of a reference group. That makes them part of a tribe around that brand. Reference groups can be actual membership groups that I do belong to, or they can be aspirational groups. And from a marketing perspective, we frequently use aspirational groups. In other words, the groups we think our target audience wants to belong to in our advertising. We do that through association. If you buy our product, you're going to become part of that group. Cool, huh? Reference groups have more power in luxury items than they do in non-luxury items. And also they have both private luxuries and public luxuries. So, the public luxuries, the brand's more important. So Porsche is more important as a public brand. Whereas the private luxuries, brand isn't so important as is those of the reference groups that you're referring to. Reference groups get a lot of their power from this concept of conformity. And we've talked about this before. Humans tend to have this desire to be independent, and I'm an individual at the same time as wanting to be part of a group. So that being part of a group part of being human is what conformity is all about. In fact, there's sort of a whole science around the beliefs that go with being part of a group and how it's good, and the factors influencing conformity, things like cultural pressures, the fear of deviance, how bad is it to be different, the commitment to a group in general, how important is the group, how important is family versus another group, or the team, how well have you been sort of socialized into a particular view of groupness, the group size and the expertise that's associated with being part of it, and generally an individual's susceptibility to interpersonal influence. I guess we all know people, or maybe we are people. You just go with the flow, go along with the group, versus some independent thinkers. One of the reasons reference groups are important to us is because they are the source of word-of-mouth communication, which, as we know, is one of the most powerful forms of communication that there is. So if we can get, as marketers, if we can get members of a reference group talking about our product in a positive way, and Joan tells Jean, and Jean tells Sam, and Sam tells so-and-so, that type of transmission of an idea, and if we're a product association, is just phenomenal. That's really the most powerful type of communication that we can achieve. One of the ways marketers try and get into that reference group conversation, if you will, is through guerrilla marketing. So this is using anything that isn't sort of a traditional advertising technique, and that way you kind of get picked up and trended, and the internet equivalent of this is creating a meme that you're associated with or going viral. Viral leads us into the whole concept of virtual communities, and this is something that's growing. And I think there are even branded games out there. There might be massive online games where you can purchase advertising in. I haven't seen an example of it. If anybody has, please post it. But certainly the groups are out there, and there's a lot going on in forums, and there's a lot of one of the sleazier parts of marketing that's adopted this is going out to support forums and forums where somebody might search when they're searching for a product, and saying good things about the product, but masquerading as regular Joes or consumers. In some cases, brands themselves will go about attempting to create a community, of sort of virtually a virtual online tribe, if you will, of members associated with the product, or perhaps branding a cause or a social site, supporting a social site in a cause that you wish to be associated with. Okay, opinion leadership. So we just talked about reference groups, now we're talking about opinion leaders. So reference groups, or opinion leaders, are individuals within a reference group. And, you know, they're the person that we think of when we're talking about a particular brand. I have a friend, his name is Bill. Bill's an awesome skier, and so if I was out purchasing ski equipment, and whenever I have purchased ski equipment, I've always talked to Bill ahead of time, because, you know, he's somebody that just is totally in the know, who I respect in that field. So, you know, opinion leaders are technically competent, they're knowledgeable, they're socially active, they're great. They're great targets for advertising if we can convince, or actually even going beyond advertising and into marketing and getting us one-on-one. If you can identify and reach your opinion leaders, well, they all have networks of people who rely upon them for brand references. Okay, this is your secret assignment number 2 in this lecture series, and that is to go out and describe to me in a post the characteristics of opinion leaders that would help you find them. You can use a particular brand example if you want, or a particular product category. That's one option in this assignment. Or, so option A is go find, or tell me about the characteristics of opinion leaders that will help you actually identify them and reach them. Option B is find an example of a company that claims to provide a network of opinion leaders that marketers could actually purchase into.